One of the issues that is being very challenging in Israel at this time, and is in danger of even bringing down the government, is Giyus Charedim, recruitment of Charedi young men to be soldiers in the IDF. And can we get some insight from this week's Torah portion in regards to this issue? So towards the end of the first portion that we read this week, we read the story that there are two tribes of Gad and Reuven who come to Moshe Rabbeinu and say, we have conquered the land of Sichon and Og on the eastern side of the Jordan, and we'd like to stay and use their property, and we'd love to stay here. We have a lot of sheep, and it's great grounds for grazing. So we'd like to be here and let the rest of the Jewish people cross the Jordan and have their portion in the proper land of Israel. And Moshe Rabbeinu responds to them like he doesn't respond to anyone else. He really lets it out and lets them have it. He famously says, should your brethren be the ones who go to war and you sit here in relative security and peace? And why will you bring fear into the hearts of all your brethren? This is exactly what the spies did. And Moshe Rabbeinu can imagine thinking, the spies came back, spoke to the Jews that they can't go into Israel, caused all of them to cry, not to want to go in. God makes a decree that they're going to stay 40 years in the desert, and that whole generation had to die out. This is now after the 40 years. Now they're ready to go in, and here they say, oh, we don't want to go in, we'll stay on this side of the Jordan. And all of a sudden, all the other Jews might get afraid to go in, and Moshe is ready to tear his hair out. And the children of Gad and Reuven say, no, we'll go and we will fight in front of our brethren, and we'll only come back to settle our land after they finish conquering and apportioning the land. So this, you could say, is a cry very clearly. How can your brothers go to war and you sit in relative tranquility and peace? Conversely, in the beginning of the Torah portion, we read about a war of vengeance, a war against Midian, who caused tremendous sinning and suffering for the Jewish people. Just the last couple of portions. We're not going to go into the detail, but there, Moshe is told to take 1,000 from each tribe to go out to war against Midian. And he repeats the 1,000 from each tribe. So Rashi tells us, from our sages, that this tells us that even the tribe of Levi, who normally does not go to war, went out to this war of vengeance. And indeed, the Maimonides codifies it in Halacha, in the Rambam that we're learning today, that the tribe of Levi doesn't have a portion of the land of Israel, doesn't have fields and agricultural lands like the rest of the Jewish people. Hashem is his portion. And because of that, then people donated tithes to them, and that's how they got supported. They gave them cities to where they lived. And because of that, the Rambam says, they do not go to war. And then Rambam continues, it's not only tribe of Levi. Anyone who wants to be committed to Hashem as the tribe of Levi can do so. And therefore, and have Hashem as his portion, and indeed not go to war. So which one is it? Tribe of Gad and Reuven, Moshe says, how dare you stay here whilst everyone else goes to war? Whereas the tribe of Levi, his own tribe, didn't go to war unless it was a unique case. But normally not. What's the explanation? So with regards to the tribe of Gad and Reuven, their story, what was it? We're shepherds, we have sheep, we want to stay here. What was that about? And why liken them to the spies? There's some connection. So the deeper dimension in understanding the reason for the spies not wanting to go into Israel was they felt that going into Israel, it's a land that will eat up its people. In other words, here in the desert, We have the clouds of glory, we have the manna from heaven, we have a greatest teacher Moshe, we have the presence of Hashem, miracles all the time. We're living at a different level. We're not living within the world. We're going to go into the land of Israel. There we're going to have to plow and sow. We're going to get involved in agriculture. We're not going to have time for spirituality. So they wanted to stay in a spiritual space. Similar to that is a little bit the distinction between the shepherd and the farmer, the agricultural farmer. We see that in Hevel and Cain. Hevel was the shepherd and Cain was the worker of the land. In the Yosef and his brothers, the brothers were shepherds. Yosef led a whole country. What was the idea? That the brothers of Yosef felt that we can't get involved in farming, we can't get involved in running a country, we will lose our spirituality. So we need to retain that. By being a shepherd, you don't have to do much. You sit there, you watch the sheep, and you're in your own time. If you're in agriculture, you are committed from morning to night, and when it's raining, and getting rid of the diseases, and et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of work that you need to do. So the children of Gad and Reuven were like that. They wanted to have a more shepherd life. That's why they didn't want to go into Israel. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, no. The reality is, you're still in this world. You're still in the world of commerce. So you're not in agriculture, you're farming sheep. But you're still dependent on the material world to give you what you need. If you're dependent on the material world, then part of that is when there's a war, you have to fight the war. The tribe of Levi, however, is a whole different dimension. The tribe of Levi is a people who say, my portion is God. Let me explain. One of the mitzvahs of the Torah, in time, Levi is in person. In time, there is the mitzvah of Shemitah. Shemitah is once in 7 years, you didn't work the land, and you didn't involve yourself in the agriculture at all. Now think about it. We're talking about an economy that all the people are involved in agriculture. So imagine for one whole year, no one is working. That's ridiculous. It's one of the greatest proofs of the truth of Torah, because no one, a human being, would never make a law like that. That for a whole year you don't work? That's crazy. But that's what the Torah tells us. And the Torah tells us in order for us to understand that we have faith, that who's the one who gives us our parnasa? Hashem. Indeed, Hashem says, I'm going to make the 6 year's crops be so much, there'll be enough for the 6th and 7th year. And indeed, the last two Shmitas, there's a kibbutz called Chassam Sofer, a Chavetz Chaim, I think, that is a religious kibbutz that have put into their books clearly that they had a double growth on the 6th year. Suffice them for the 6th and 7th year. So the idea is that for a whole year we don't work, we rely on Hashem. Same thing as for a people, we always needed one tribe who was reliant on Hashem, who learned Torah, and that's the people that we looked up to, and the rest did the work. But at least you knew that this is a whole nother system. Why? Because the Jewish people are successful, not like everyone else. We're not successful because we have the best technology and because we have the best soldiers and the strongest army. We're successful because we have the blessings of Hashem. And so in the army of Hashem, you have many divisions. You have an Air Force, you have an Army, you have a Navy, you have the people in the cooks, and you have the people in the back of who are dealing with the ammunition and so on. And so you have a division who is studying Torah. A study Torah division is necessary for the success of the war. However, when it comes to Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, they're not studying Torah, they're shepherds. So they're still involved. They're still believing involved in commerce, in normal, in nature. If you're involved in nature, you got to fight. If you say you're beyond nature, okay, so you can learn Torah. How does that apply at the moment? It applies in the following 2 episodes in the Rebbe. On one hand, Arik Sharon, he had a terrible accident, lost his son in I think the late 60s, early 70s. And he got close to the Rebbe sent him a beautiful letter. In any event, he told one of the Rebbe's messengers that, give me some Chabad boys to stand with a rifle that doesn't shoot. Just take a picture, just to kind of show that, They don't have to do anything, just they should have the look. And the Rebbe said not even for one day. But on the other hand, there was a fellow whose son was in yeshiva, and then he dropped out. He didn't want to learn anymore. He wanted to go work. So the father asked the Rebbe for a blessing that he should get an exemption from the army. And the Rebbe said, looking through the 4 sections of Shulchan Aruch, I do not see anywhere where it's okay for him not to fight. Why? If everyone else should fight, he should fight. So what that says is the following. We need a tribe of Torah learners. And that is a part of the success of the war. I heard a story of a soldier standing in line together with a Torah studier, a kol yungerman, and the kol guy had his trolley full of food, and the soldier says, I want to pay for it. He says, why? So he says, I realize how much you protect us, because he was helping Ukraine with the Patriot missiles, or the missiles, the missiles to protect them against the Russian missiles. And there we had like a 50% success rate. And here in Israel, we have like a 90% success rate. So it's not because we're smarter here. It's the same thing. It's the same technology. Must be that we have something more here. And what we have here is the protection of the Torah studiers. So that's one aspect. But once you're not studying Torah, once you go to work, once you get married, when you have to earn a living, then there's no reason why the Charedim shouldn't go fight. Not only no reason, they have to. They have to go to the army and fight at that time. After they stop learning Torah, then why should your brothers go and fight and you don't? And that's the 2 dimensions which would be the position, I would believe, of the Rebbe. Torah learning is part of the army service, but after you finish Torah study, you should not be exempt from army service. Then you should take your responsibility and be involved in what everyone else is doing. Unless you're doing something else for Am Yisrael, for Klal Yisrael, for the Jewish community and Jewish people, such as shluchim and so on. And that's indeed how Chabad does things in Eretz Yisrael. Those who learn, and when you finish, when you get married, you go to the war, you go to the army, and you help. May Hashem bless us that we have no more need of wars because we have absolute success, and after that, peace. Good Shabbos.